but I had this realization in 2011 or so. I had an epiphany about how our system works, and the epiphany was, what if they don't actually want to do any of the things they say they want to do? Speaking about the parties, the politicians, what if they don't even want to? Like, that was the epiphany I had about 10 years ago, and then I started putting that to the test, and I started predicting things pretty consistently. And so I believe that that's actually what's going on, is that it's not just that they can't get stuff done, it's that they don't want to. It's all a game, it's a charade. So that's hard to get across to people when they have all these vested interests in one party or the other party, but they're both two wings on the same bird, right? And so I was driving up there, and I was just wondering to myself, when's a politician or somebody going to come along that I can really believe in, I can put myself behind, that we can really change the way this world works. And I just had this just long drive and think about it, and I realized that if I got to be 50 years old or 60 years old or 70, especially by the time I'm 70 years old, I would be really, really upset at myself if I didn't ever see that politician that I could get behind, that I think stands for the right things. So I also have a heavy belief that when you're a member of a society, any society, and you believe you have answers to problems that people that affect your society in a negative way, I believe it's your job to try and implement the changes to fix whatever it is that you figured out needs to be fixed. I think that's I think by not running, having come to the conclusion I came to when I came to it, by not running, I feel like I'd be doing a bit of a disservice, and not really being able to take ownership of my own government, my own neighborhood, anything, because I'm not willing to step up when I think I have the right answers and actually try to change the stuff that I think needs to get changed. So that's ultimately what put me in the race.
Yeah, that's a very interesting outlook. So it almost like you feel like you had duty to run it, or
That's right.
like
Yeah, that's right.
I actually I changed my mind since then, but I actually thought about running because I quit my job, and that's why I was canvassing. I was canvassing multiple states for Bernie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my idea. Like literally, there were a lot of Bernie organizers because I was giving speeches in black barbershops. I was with the cyborg guy, Ray Fisher. We went around. Yeah. We were going in black barbershops giving speeches, and I was talking to people. I mean, we were flipping people like this. So people were like, man, you ever thought about running? I'm like, I'll pretty much just do the same thing I'm doing here. Well, I'll just go door to door, talk to people, radicalizing people. It's like it's whatever. I changed my mind because man, I took a giant hit on my investment in electoral politics, mostly because of the same conclusion that you arrived to. And I want to ask you about this because I thought you brought up something that's very interesting, where you said you was having this almost debate to yourself, politicians, they don't really mean what they say. Yeah. And this is what I've been telling people, because I went through that same process that you just described.
Yeah.
Literally the same thing you just described. I went through, where I was like, okay, I thought Barack Obama and the Democratic Party at least cared, and I thought
so did I.
I thought the reason why they didn't get stuff done, I'm like, oh, Republicans, they trying their best, but then after a while, I mean, it only took me a few. I figured this out after following politics for a few years. I was like, okay, this is BS. They definitely want to lose, and there's countless examples of this. And not only they want to lose, they are complicit with all the stuff that Republicans want to get done. So I tweeted this out maybe an hour or so ago, and I won't try to see y'all that question, but I literally told people the whole thing about Washington D.C. Struggling to get bipartisan stuff done, that's a myth. It's never been real.
It's by design, man. It's that's the whole. They always come together they always come together when it's something shitty, right? Like bailing out banks or whatever, man. There's bipartisanship anytime it's something really awful.
Yeah, and I was asking, when the last time you see bipartisanship get in the way of them expanding the military budget?
Yeah.
Does that get in the way of them funding Israel?
So that's exactly the thing. And so the analogy that I came up with a few years ago, and I'm not great at analogies, so I'm really proud that I actually came up with a decent one for this, is that if you think about all the issues, wedge issues, or even just, hard issues that we face as a society between climate change and healthcare reform and police reform and criminal justice in general and mass incarceration, all the other stuff that we face, and then immigration and warfare and abortion, which is always kept in there somewhere. Um, all these different things, those all these issues are there specifically so that both parties can stake an opposite position from one another and then try and influence people to vote for them and put them into office. So that's the purpose, because in reality both of those parties actually act the same way, and they are paid mostly by the same people. So in the end, you know the people paying them are the ones being served, and they're certainly not going to be paying them to do what the Democrats say they want to do, right? So
Yeah.
think about all those issues I named and all the other ones you can think of, and think about those as arrows in a quiver for like a bow, an archer, right? And so when they're campaigning, that's their quiver is their campaign issues that they can use to get the public to vote for them. And so as they go around, they fire those arrows. They pull out, immigration, and they fire it, and they pull out Black Lives Matter, they fire it, right? Whatever it is, because they're on opposite sides. Like, Democrats have one position on Black Lives Matter, and Republicans have the opposite position on Black Lives Matter. So what you have to realize to understand how the system actually works is you have to realize that they know that if they actually solved any of the problems that we face as a society, all that happens for them is they lose an arrow to campaign on. It doesn't change anything else for them. So they have no interest in actually fixing any of this stuff because they need it to stay broken to run the government the way it is. Like, that's the bottom line.
You want to know a good example of this political kayfabe that we are outlining right now? And this is how you know they don't have any desire to fix anything. And this is why I was flagging before. I'm like, if you guys think the Democratic Party have a change of heart and they're going to cancel student loan debt and raise the minimum wage, you out your damn mind. Like,
yeah,
because that goes against Biden's donors. Like, Biden was funded by health insurance companies that got him over across the line in South Carolina. So
and banks.
Yeah.
Banks is he's from fucking Delaware. Like, that's like, look on the back of your credit card. Almost every credit card you've ever had, so the bank's in Delaware.
Yeah. So the idea that he was going to implement a public option and go against his health insurance companies, like, I don't even like a public option. I think it's trash. But the health insurance companies have a vested interest in keeping our health insurance, our healthcare system, as horrible as possible. So if you guys thought that a guy who had 100 billion billionaire donors was actually gonna like follow through on these campaign promises on healthcare, that's ridiculous. You think he's gonna take the side of us on the class war over his giant donors? That doesn't make sense. So once again, the best example I have to show this, like, Kristen Sinema was for a $15 minimum wage in 2014.
Yeah, wasn't she Green Party at the time?
Yeah, she was very progressive for her entire career until the Democratic Party needed her not to be.
Of course.
I repeat, she was progressive and she was for a minimum wage until the Democratic Party needed her not to be for those things. So why did I say that? I broke it down on my show multiple times. If it wasn't for Kristen Sinema, if it wasn't for Joe Manchin, it would be someone else. Democrats pick these representatives that are, like Kristen Sinema is in a purple state. They also pick people like Joe Manchin who is in deep red state. They pick those representatives like, okay, that's the person who's gonna take the conservative stance.
That's 100% correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't buy the kayfabe. Like, they were being told their position they need to take. So like, you see, when people always say, how do politicians they contradict themselves all the time? I mean, I guess they don't mean to when they start, but they get the order. Like,
I have a theory on this.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
And I've said stuff about this on Twitter, and I'm going to have, we're going to be filming some videos for the campaign here shortly. And one of these is about this exact subject. The problem is we actually elect the wrong kind of person. That's actually the root problem. It's not that the parties necessarily, like, I believe that the parties can cheat to a degree in elections and stuff like that, but I don't believe, at least yet, that they have complete control and completely rig an entire election or whatever. I think that we can defeat them still. I I'd like to believe that anyway. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I need to believe to
That
do what I'm doing.
that's interesting. There are a lot of people that would say like, man, there are a lot of people that giving up hope, especially after Bernie dropped
I
out.
know.
And to be honest, I am kind of jaded. My mindset is I
No,
don't
I
see
get it.
I don't see any other option. You know, what I mean, even if I don't think we're gonna win, I'm not gonna just sit back and not fight, right? Like I don't
Yeah,
see that.
yeah.
I don't see that as a possibility.
No, but the problem is the people that do win, the politicians that are successful in campaigning aren't the politicians that are good at actually being representatives. Okay, because the people that are good at campaigning and getting elected are narcissists for the most part. They're people who don't care about anything but getting approval of from other people. Right?
Exactly.
That's their value. That's what they care about. I could give a shit about
See,
that. Like,
you're
and
right. That's the person we need. Because you said it's
that's
about the
right.
type of person. That's because
That's
that's the
right.
tweet squad where you just outline.
That's
They
right.
want the approval of the Democratic establishment. The
Of
story
course.
came out.
And that's the problem is they start out wanting the approval of the voters to make sure that they can get elected. And it's a very effective strategy because no matter who they stand in front, they sympathize and they tell them whatever they want to hear so that they can get elected. And then once they're in office, now they're, because their MO, the way they operate, because they're a narcissist, they're going to now seek the approval of the people they're working with in DC. Like that's how it's wired. So of course they're going to like, that's the wrong goddamn person. We don't want to send that person
Well
to
said.
DC.